In my early 20s, I was drinking, partying, and hooking up with random girls. Now I'm 34 and I've made over $50 million. If I could go back and give some pearls of wisdom to my 20-year-old self, here's what I'd say. 1. Fuck being normal. Statistically speaking, the normal person is overweight, anxious, depressed, socially lonely, and in debt. Unless that sounds appealing to you, fuck being normal. 2. Go against the crowd. If you do what everybody else is doing, you're gonna end up like everybody else. Have a look around you. How are your neighbors doing? How are your friends doing? How's your family doing? Could you see yourself living their life? If not, start running in the opposite direction, because if you don't, that's where you're gonna end up. 3. Question everything. So growing up, I had this pain in the ass friend. Why? Because he wouldn't stop asking questions. Why ask questions when you can sit at the back of the classroom and play some Pokemon Yellow? It wasn't until much later in life I realized why. Instead of trying to figure everything out yourself, why don't you just ask great quality questions to people who already know how to do what you want to do? As I love to say, success leaves clues, but in order to figure out the right clues, you need to ask the right questions. 4. Default to no. Early in my business journey, I used to say yes to every opportunity that came my way. Why? Because I didn't have much going on and I wasn't about to say no to any future opportunities. That said, cracks started to show because I was spread way too thin, and I ended up pissing off more people than it was worth. And it's here that I learned saying yes is easy and saying no is actually quite difficult. If you want to realize your dreams, you're gonna have to learn to say no to a lot of people. 5. If you don't have a target, you'll end up nowhere. Most people stay average because they don't know where they're going. This may come as a shock, but you're not gonna randomly wake up one morning, ready to seize the day, ready to start grinding, unless you know where you're going. So if you want more for yourself, you actually need to figure out what you want out of life. And we're talking all areas of life, not just where you want to live one day. 6. Good things take time. Nowadays, we have the whole world at our fingertips, and because of that, we're impatient as fuck. We see all these rich and famous people that became overnight successes, but we didn't see the years, the decades of work that went on in the background. Kanye didn't blow up overnight, Drake didn't blow up overnight, Ninja didn't blow up overnight. Good things take time. Recognize that if you're not prepared to put in 10 years to mastering your craft, to mastering your skill, you probably just don't have what it takes. 7. Focus on moving the needle forward. Sure, there are probably hundreds, if not thousands, of random things you can do every day. But the question to ask yourself, are they important? Are they actually moving you close towards your goals? The Pareto principle states that 20% of your actions lead to 80% of your results. So you really need to assess what you're doing. Is what you're doing propelling you forward, or is it slowing you down? And a little +1, 8, focus on what you can control. At the end of the day, the only things that you can control are your thoughts, are your decisions, and your actions. You cannot control what other people do or what other people think, so don't dwell on that. Just focus on things that you can control. 9. Stop binging. In my late teens, I was playing 40 hours a week of COD, of Counter-Strike, whilst at the same time working 40 hours a week. Oh my God! I had a fucking full-time job on top of my full-time job, and the second full-time job wasn't adding anything to my life. Imagine what you could do if instead of watching TV for 8 hours a day or playing games, you maybe spent 2 hours doing that and spent 6 hours working on building your dreams. And then before you know it, you're gonna replace your full-time job with your dream job. 10. Don't feel bad about taking time off. In my early days, I would go, go, go. I would work from sunrise to sunset 7 days a week. I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing, but every time I try to take some time off, I had this little voice in my head that was guilt-tripping me into doing more work. Obviously, it took me years to get over that, and I even struggle with it today. But it's important to recognize that you're only on this planet for a short period of time, so it's important to stop and smell the roses. Why don't you go out and watch a sunset one day? Or maybe chuck your phone away when you're having dinner with family and friends. And the catch is, don't feel guilty about it. Instead, have a little fun. We get so caught up in our day-to-day life, we forget to have fun. We go to school, we go to university, we get a job, we get a mortgage. We're all work, we're no play. Boring. Talk shit, fuck around, have a laugh, do something that makes you look stupid. Because at the end of the day, putting a smile on your face or somebody else's makes life worth living. 12. Surround yourself with the right people. I know I say this all the time, but you're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. In my late teens and early 20s, I was hanging around some real waste of space. These people were drinking every night, taking drugs, selling drugs, and starting fights. And because that's who I was surrounding myself with, that's who I was becoming. And thank fuck I realized that these weren't the right people to spend time with, because if I didn't, I probably would have ended up in prison with half of them. If you know somebody's a bad influence, get rid of them. Instead, replace them with people that you look up to. Let's say you want to lose weight. When you're at the gym, maybe say, hey, what's up to a gym bro? Or if you want to become successful, maybe start talking to people that are successful. Or do you want to improve your life? Well, maybe surround yourself with people that are doing just that. 13. Don't fret over the small things. Be honest with yourself, how many sleepless nights have you had worrying about some minor bullshit? We take everything personally when we shouldn't. Let's say somebody calls you fat. What they're really trying to say is, I'm insecure, so you should be too. Or maybe somebody cut you off in traffic. Maybe they've got someone in hospital, or maybe they're just a prick. Who cares? I remember I was at a Tony Robbins event, and one day he said, all those small things that bother you, just put them in a balloon and let them go. I honestly think that's important with life. Don't worry about the bullshit. 14, developing good habits is crucial to success. As our boy James Clear says, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall back to the level of your systems, and your systems are your habits. So pay attention to what you're doing every day. Are your habits serving you, or are they destroying you? If you get a chocolate bar every time that you go to the kitchen, maybe just don't buy that chocolate bar. Or if every time that you go into the bakery section, you're ending up with a pie, at your local supermarket, maybe change that supermarket with an Audi instead. Or if every time you're opening up your phone, you're opening up Twitter, maybe delete the Twitter app instead. And if you make a lot of these small changes, they're going to pay dividends in the long run. And remember, 15, habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. Look, I think we all know what compound interest is, right? At first, nothing really looks like it's changing, but after a while, things start snowballing like crazy. And this applies to most things. If you get 1% better playing the guitar, 1% faster reading, or 1% stronger, you're probably gonna not notice too much. But if you get 1% better every day for the whole year, you're gonna be 37 times better. And that, my friends, is noticeable. 16, be grateful. When you're grateful, even for the small things, what happens is it changes the way that you think. Normally, a lot of people are pessimistic, they don't think they can do things, but when you become grateful, you start to see the positive side of things. And when you start to see the positive side of things, that's the key to success, because negative Nancys don't get very far in life. 17, wherever you are, be there. What I actually mean is be present. When you're at work, be at work. When you're at home, be at home. When you're trying to sleep, don't think about work, right? I used to have this bad habit of bringing my work troubles home with me. So I'd be pissed off at work and I'd come home and that would rub off on my missus. Then all of a sudden, my missus would be in this foul mood. And for what? We can't change it till tomorrow anyway. So now what I do, it's pretty simple. Before I walk in the door, I normally will take 3 to 5 deep breaths and reset. And what I'm actually doing is I'm transitioning from work to home. So when I'm at home, I'm actually at home and I forget about work. 18, celebrate the wins. What's the point of setting these great goals and achieving them if you don't celebrate the wins? Instead, what you do is you move on to the next goal, you move on to the next goal, you move on to the next goal. I know it might sound a little bit cliche, but it's about the journey, it's not about the destination. Because the truth is, if you can't celebrate along the way, who's going to say that you're going to be happy once you reach your destination? Guys, celebrate the wins, it is mandatory. 19, travel as much as you can. Look, when I travel, I'm a little bit money orientated. I love culture, but also I love seeing what's going on in the world around me. So when I'm traveling, I'm also looking at people's houses, people's businesses, people's cars, and what I do with it. I'm not doing it in a jealous kind of way. I'm kind of doing it where if they can do it, so can I. Then when I come back home, what I do is I use it as fuel for me to realize my dreams. 20, learning doesn't stop when you finish school. Like I've said in the past, we're kind of on the same path for the first 20 to 25 years of our life. We go to school and we get a job. And then when we get a job, we don't really worry about learning and the learning stops. And that's a trap because when you stop learning, there's no more promotions, there's no more pay rises, and you kind of plateau. And when you plateau, it's another word for stagnation, and stagnation is just another word of gradual decline. In the world that we live in, the price of things is always going up. And if we aren't growing, what happens is eventually we're not going to be able to afford to buy the things that we need. The most successful people study every day. They know that. 21, reading is important. I still remember when I was in school, people couldn't wait to finish school so they didn't have to read. And that's a shame because readers are leaders. The top executives of the Fortune 500 companies read between 50 to 60 books in a year. And how do I know that? I found it on Google. And what I'm really trying to get across is never stop learning, never stop reading, never stop growing. And if you really want to accelerate things, 22, join a mastermind or get a mentor. If you join a mastermind or get a mentor, the thing is they've probably spent 10 or 30 years mastering their art. So instead of you learning through trial and error, which could take you decades, you can learn that in 1 year. So it might initially seem like a bit of an investment or you have to spend money, but think about it as an investment in your future. 23, don't let circumstances determine your future. I think most of us know what we want to spend our time doing. You might want to become a finance expert, you might want to become an artist, or you might want to become a teacher. But the thing that most people struggle with is they let circumstances prevent them from going after it. A lot of the time, they want to open a shop, but they don't have enough money. Or they want to become a finance expert, but their parents were never good with money. You can't just wait around for the perfect circumstances, you've got to kind of go out and create them. So whenever you hear yourself saying, I'd love to do this, but, it's important to catch yourself when you hear yourself say but, because that but is that circumstance that's stopping you from realizing your dreams. 24, put it all on the line. Let's say over the last 10 years or 15 years, you've saved up for enough to buy a house. Then what do? You go out and buy a house. And then one day you feel like you've made it and you're ready to start that business. The only problem is all your money's tied in that house, and if you fail in business, you're gonna lose it all. Now you kind of only have two options. You can either bet on yourself and you can just make it work, or you don't go after your dreams and then you regret it for the rest of your life. I honestly believe that being broke is much better than having regret. So sometimes you have to put it all on the line. I know I have. If you want to be successful, be prepared to do whatever it takes. 25, don't give up. I've posted like 100 videos on YouTube so far. And the thing is, none of them have really hit home. But do I quit? No. Every week I sit down, I write a script, and every Saturday I sit down and record. Why? Because one of them, I assume, is gonna hit a home run. Like Kobe used to say, failure doesn't exist unless you give up.
It doesn't exist. It's not existent. What the hell does that mean? It's a figment of your imagination. If you fail on Monday, the only way it's a failure on Monday is if you decide to not progress from that. So to me, that's why failure is not existent. Because, you know, if I fail today, okay, I'm going to learn something from that failure, and I'm going to try again on Tuesday. And I fail, and I'm going to try again on Wednesday. So.
On a less serious note, 26, fuck chores. There, I said it. How much time are you spending every week doing things that you don't love, where you've got the money to outsource them? Mowing the lawns, doing the dishes, doing the laundry. Yeah, it's great if you love doing these things, but if not, maybe you should outsource them. If you can get someone else to do that task for less than you're earning per hour, hire them, outsource them. What it does, it's buying back your time. Fuck chores. And since we're talking about time, 27, use your calendar wisely. Have you ever tracked your day in 15-minute increments to actually see what you're doing with your time? Try it sometime. You're actually gonna be mind blown with how much time you actually waste. If you actually want to achieve spinning up your goals kind of thing, it's important for you to use your calendar wisely. So what I suggest is blocking out some time to do some deep work, and when you're doing this deep work, you can focus on your goals. 28, pay attention to your posture. A little something that I like to do, maybe perhaps it's a little bit weird, but whenever I walk through the shopping center, I try and guess who's successful and who's not. And one of the things that I've noticed about successful people is that they tend to maintain a strong posture. And what do I mean by strong posture? Their chin is upright, their chest is out, their shoulders are back, and they just look like success. And the funny thing is, when you hold this posture, success attracts success. 29, look after your body. We've all heard it before. Get enough sleep, exercise, eat healthy, cut out that soda. But did I listen to that advice in my 20s? No, I didn't. I was about 40 kilos heavier than I am today. The thing is, when you look after your physical body, it's gonna give you the fuel to be able to go and chase your dreams. Because when you're tired, when you're drained, you're not gonna reach your dreams. But when you've got energy and the vitality, anything's possible. And remember, 30, the most powerful antidepressant in the world is 8 hours of sleep and exercise. Oh, and waking up early is where it's at. I always told myself that I'd never be that guy that would go to bed at 8 p.m. on a Saturday night, or I never would wake up at 4:30 in the morning to go and fucking seize that day. I think my 20-year-old self would have probably a little bit of a heart attack now. I love going to bed at 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. and waking up at 4:30 because mornings are where it's at. Time to go a little bit deeper. 32, is this really what you want? Do you love your job? Do you love your social circle? Are you happy with the direction that your life's heading? At a young age, we're pushed in a certain direction. We're told by our parents and teachers what we should do with our lives. And then what happens is we kind of end up living somebody else's life. But it's really important to ask yourself every once in a while, is this what I'd really love doing? Is this the type of life that I'd love to live? If not, maybe it's time to make a change. Like Dan likes to say, it's better to admit that you've walked through the wrong door than staying in the wrong room. 33, never argue with stupid. I've had this idea floating in my head, and that's since the first time I heard it from Keanu Reeves, everybody's favorite nice guy. I'm at a stage in my life where I like to stay out of arguments. Even if you say 1 + 1 = 5, you're right, have fun. Don't waste time on pointless shit, people. And finally, 34, you're going to die. Our time here is very much finite, so stop wasting it. Steve Jobs had this inclination that he thought he was going to die at a very young age. So what did Steve Jobs do? Did he waste time? No, he went out and realized his dreams. And I suggest we all do the same. Go and do something great. We both know that you've got it in you. And there you have it, 34 brutal truths that I know at 34 that I wish I knew at 20. Now, if you're ready to step up your life, you're gonna have to actually work on that discipline of yours. So I've actually got a video for you on how to build discipline and actually stay disciplined. I'll see you over there.